This braised oxtail is loaded with flavor and slow cooked till it falls off the bone. Hi, and welcome back to Plating It with Wendy, where I share with you recipes which impress with ease. Today we're going to be making braised oxtail the Italian style, and they call it Coda alla Vaccinara. Now, I'm not Italian, so don't come for me for the pronunciation, but for the recipe, you are going to be looking for this one. Now, this is my way of making it. So let's get started. Now, let's start by prepping some of the veggies. We're going to go in with about 4 to 5 celery sticks. If the celery sticks that you're using are any bigger, you can always reduce the number. We're first going to chop it up into 2, right down the center. Do 2 at a time. And now we're going to nicely dice it up. These 2 are pretty thin, so we can just chop them right away. Just going to put that into a bowl and take it off the cutting board. And now we're going to go in with 2 carrots, and now we're going to peel them and chop them down fine. And if you love this recipe, don't forget to give it a like, share and comment, and hit on that subscribe button. These carrots and the celery are going to disintegrate into our gravy and going to give so much of flavor to our oxtail. Now let's put this into a bowl and keep it aside while we chop up the onions. And now we're going to slice up 2 red onions. Just going to cut them into half. Turn it around and cut it into half. Now we're going to cut the second onion. I've got 3 bay leaves over here, fresh bay leaves, which we're going to be adding in, and a small bunch of fresh oregano. We're just going to chop this up fine. Just going to cross chop that so we get a nice fine chop. Okay, that's looking good now. I'm going to add that in the bowl with the bay leaf. And now we're going to zest half this lemon into the bowl. It's going to give a lovely tangy flavor to our oxtail. You want just the yellow, not the white, because the white is going to give you a bittery taste. We want just that lemony flavor. And that's looking good. And to add to the earthy flavors, we're going to go in with 2 garlic cloves. And we're just going to mince them up. And now let's add this in with the herbs. Now we've got one whole oxtail here. You can see we've got the big bits and the tiny little bits. And this weighs about 3 pounds. Now we're going to season it with some salt. You can be pretty generous here. You want that flavor all to go into the meat. And some freshly ground black pepper. Once again, we're going to be really generous with it. Before seasoning the oxtail, make sure that you wash it and pat dry it. Now we're going to turn these over and season them on the other side. I'm really excited for dinner tonight because we enjoyed this while we were on vacation in Rome. It's a really hearty dish and so full of flavor. Now let's season it with salt on the other side as well. And now we're going to go in with the pepper. Now we're going to be searing the oxtail so that we lock in the flavor and we have really juicy, succulent oxtail. So for that, I like to first dust on a little bit of all-purpose flour on top of the oxtail. And this helps to get a nice sear on the pieces. And now we're going to flip them on the other side and dust them with all-purpose flour once again. We want the coating on both sides. And now let's dust the all-purpose flour on this side as well. And once your pot is nice and heated and the water droplets start dancing and singing, you know your pot is ready to start searing the meat. And we're going to add in about 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. It's going to swirl that around to cover the base of the pot. And now we're going to start putting in the pieces. And hear that sizzle. We're going to cook them for about 2 to 3 minutes on both sides till we get a nice browning. Now don't overcrowd the pot. You can do this in 2 batches. Because if you overcrowd the pot, it's going to start steaming instead of searing. Now we've got a few bits remaining and we'll sear that in the second batch. Now we've got our heat on medium-high because we want a nice sear. And see, we've got some good color, so let's turn it on the other side. Beautiful. I'm just going to turn it on the side so that it gets seared on the sides as well. Let's check this and see whether oh yes, this is done. Now let's take these off and sear the second batch. Just adding a little bit more oil to the pot. And let's add in the remaining pieces. Now in the same pot, so that we pick up all the flavors that's left behind, we're going to add a little bit more oil and then we're going to add 200 grams of chopped pancetta. And now let's saute this till the pancetta gets a little bit crispy. Now we're going to toss in 5 cloves and about a 2-inch stick of cinnamon. Let's saute that. And now we're going to add in all those herbs that we had chopped. Wow, the aroma. Now we're going to add in half of the carrots, half of the celery, half of the sliced onions. And we're just going to mix that up before we add in 150 grams of tomato paste. Now let's mix that up. And now we're going to deglaze the pan by adding 1 glass of white wine. That's a generous glass. We're going to season it with some salt and a generous helping of freshly ground black pepper. And now we're going to allow this to cook till the wine reduces. Okay, now that the wine has reduced, we're going to add in the seared oxtail. We're just going to snuggle them inside. remaining pieces we could just put on the top. And now into that we're going to add a whole can of peeled tomatoes. And now let's add in the remaining carrots, celery, onions, and we're going to season this once again with a little bit of salt. So many layers of flavor going on here. And again, freshly cracked black pepper. Let's give that a mix. And we're going to allow this to cook for a little bit before we add in some more wine. Now, some people add in just white wine, some people add in just red wine, but I'm going with a combination of both. So now we're going to add in about a cup of red wine. And you want to use a wine that you like to drink, because after adding this in and giving it a stir, we're going to allow this to cook for about 3 hours. So at which time you can pour yourself a glass of wine and enjoy it. Okay, now we're going to cover this up and reduce the heat to medium-low and allow it to cook for about 3 to 4 hours, depending upon the size of the oxtail. You want to cook it till the meat falls off the bone. During the time that it's cooking, you want to stir it occasionally to make sure that it's not sticking to the bottom of the pot. Now, towards the end of the cooking time, say when there's approximately an hour left, you might find that the gravy tends to stick to the bottom of the pot. So here's what I do. I add about a cup or 2 of beef broth. And this helps to loosen up the gravy and prevent it from sticking to the bottom of the pot, and also helps to deepen the flavor of the gravy. As it cooked, I added about 3 cups of the beef broth to it. And now let's test it and see whether the meat is falling off the bone. And look at that. It's just coming off. Wow. Can you see that? Now we're going to switch off the heat and allow it to sit for about 2 minutes before we plate it. Now let's plate this delicious braised oxtail before we give it a taste. And to finish it off, let's garnish it with a little parsley. Oh my goodness. Look at that. And now let's give the braised oxtail a taste. Wow, it's looking so yum. Can't wait. Just see. See that? How soft it just came off the bone. Wow. Wow, this is the best braised oxtail that I've ever tasted. It's slow cooked, and so the flavors have really gone into the oxtail, and it is absolutely delicious. Just melt in your mouth. I hope you give this recipe a try. So hop onto my website, platingitwithwendy.com, where you will find the full written recipe, or you can hit on the link in the description box below. Thanks for watching. See you soon.